High above Earth, a satellite drifted through darkness with a single purpose. Not to photograph continents, not to forecast weather, not to explore space. It was there to watch for nuclear explosions. The Vela satellites had been built during the Cold War, when the difference between peace and catastrophe could arrive as a brief flash of light. Hidden tests, secret detonations, violations that might last only an instant before disappearing forever. Among them was a satellite called Vela 6911. Its job was simple. If a nuclear weapon exploded somewhere on Earth, it was supposed to know. For years, the system watched quietly. Oceans moved beneath it, clouds formed and dissolved, sunlight swept across the planet and vanished into night. Then, in the darkness before dawn on a September morning in 1979, the satellite recorded something. A brief flash, then another. Not random. Not continuous. Two distinct pulses. A double flash. The kind of signal the system had been designed to recognize. Back on Earth, the trace appeared as two clean peaks rising from a line of data, a pattern so familiar to nuclear test specialists that it seemed to speak for itself. The machine had seen exactly what it was built to find. The first pulse matched the initial burst expected from a nuclear detonation. The second matched the expanding fireball that would follow. For a moment, the story looked remarkably simple. A nuclear test detector had detected what appeared to be a nuclear test. Attention turned toward a remote region of ocean south of Africa, near the meeting place of the South Atlantic and the Southern Indian Ocean. If the signal represented a real explosion, another question immediately followed. Who had conducted it? The double flash lingered on report pages and computer printouts. Each time investigators returned to it, the pattern seemed persuasive. The detector looked confident. The trace looked confident. The warning itself looked confident. The next step should have been confirmation. Instead, confirmation began to disappear. The explosion was gone. No crater waited to be examined. No wreckage floated on the sea. Only the warning remained. Investigators searched for supporting evidence. Aircraft samples, atmospheric measurements, environmental traces, anything that could transform the warning into proof. Yet the expected path forward never arrived cleanly. Some observations hinted at a nuclear event. Others appeared incomplete. Some evidence seemed suggestive. None of it settled the matter. The ocean where the flash had occurred offered almost nothing back. An empty stretch of water became one of the most important images in the story. The event itself had vanished. Only indirect clues remained, and each clue carried its own limitations. The signal still looked convincing. The conclusion no longer did. That should have been a temporary problem. More analysis would arrive. Experts would review the evidence. A final answer would emerge. Instead, something stranger happened. Authority itself began to split. Committees examined the same signal. Scientists studied the same data. Reports evaluated the same event. Yet different groups reached different conclusions. Stacks of documents accumulated. One interpretation suggested the satellite had likely detected a nuclear explosion. Another argued that the signal might have been caused by something else. Perhaps an unusual instrument effect. Perhaps a rare natural phenomenon. Perhaps a combination of conditions no one had anticipated. The details varied. The outcome remained the same. Agreement failed to appear. The double flash stayed where it had always been, unchanged on the page. What changed was confidence. Every institution that should have strengthened trust introduced another uncertainty. The detector could be questioned. Supporting evidence could be questioned.
Yes, the impact zone is localized.
Expert judgments could be questioned. Even the process used to evaluate the event could be questioned. The audience of investigators found themselves confronting an uncomfortable contradiction. The machine appeared more certain than the people interpreting it. Years passed. The signal remained. The argument remained. The ocean remained empty. Then the story began returning. Researchers revisited the data. New technical assessments examined the original warning again. Alternative explanations faced a difficult problem. They had to account for the specific shape of the signal. The recurring image returned once more, 2 pulses, rising from a trace. The pattern still resembled the signature it had always resembled. Some later analyses strengthened the case that the satellite had probably observed a nuclear event. The nuclear explanation seemed harder to dismiss than before. The warning system increasingly looked as though it might have functioned exactly as intended. Yet something crucial had already been lost. Even stronger support could not restore certainty. The moment when certainty might have existed had passed decades earlier. The physical event was gone. The atmosphere had changed. The ocean had erased its traces. All that remained were records, interpretations, and probabilities. The story had reached a strange destination. The signal survived. Certainty did not. Return to the satellite. Return to the dark ocean. Return to the double flash. The image itself never changes. 2 pulses. A warning appearing exactly as it should. At the beginning of the story, that warning seems to mean one thing. A nuclear explosion has occurred. By the end, the meaning has shifted. The warning may still be real. The detector may still have been right. But the deeper question is no longer whether a nuclear test happened. It is whether observation alone can ever become certainty. Vela 6911 was built to detect reality. On that September morning, it may have done precisely that. Yet the event it recorded became a limit case, a place where evidence remained persuasive without becoming conclusive. A place where the strongest signal in the story was not the flash over the ocean, but the distance between seeing something and proving it. And so the final image is not the satellite, not the reports, not the investigators. It is an empty ocean beneath a vanished flash, while a decades-old signal continues to insist on a meaning that certainty never managed to keep.